Hey, my name is Jude, and I build automations and AI agents for startups and businesses. We've been building AI agents for the past couple of days now. And if you do remember, I told you we have three types of AI agents, right? The low level, the middle level, and the high level. Now, we need to talk about the low level. We've been using this, right? However, there are some limitations to low level AI agents which I believe I need to address here. And this is something I noticed right after doing this a couple of times over, right after using this. And I just fed this in to AI to, give me the wordings and something to just compile this together so you guys can also get in basically months of experience of what I've noticed in building low-level AI agents. So one thing whenever I'm with this cap as well is that I'm trying to fake it, but you guys understand what I'm doing. So I'm recording the same day. Yes, whenever I do this, I kind of look like Jay, this Robo Nuggets guy. So that's the feeling, It's always on this and a cap, right? Anyway, so the limit of low-level agents, let's just use what I prepared. As usual, I have a resource guide which I brought in here. And so I had to put this together very quick, just giving my one piece. And let's see. So what you're going to notice is that, you could see the M dashes. I had to think hard about this, and this is my own piece, and just things that I feel like things that you could also learn from as well. So I just put this together and it gave me something like this. So now the limits of low-level agents and when to use it and when to also go for something else as well. So like I said here, you need to read this before you build anything for any client. So you need to read and probably listen to what I'm about to say. So the truth is that if there's any tutorial that comes up with building an AI agent inside platforms like Anything, Make.com, I'm going to tell you that the first thing is that they will never tell you when you are not supposed to use that as well. That's what you see. Like, they just talk about it, they talk about how great it is, but most of them will not tell you that leave that, use this instead, or don't do that and use this instead. So that's why most people end up building something that could have been done better using a different method as well, and probably not just a different method but probably faster or slower or cheaper, anything. There are cases when using this particular method, I could say, might even cost you more than going for something else, and to be honest, it might be unnecessary. It's actually be unnecessary. So these are the things I'm going to just put together today. One thing I need to point out is the merits of low-level agents, and where they shine here is fuzzy judgments in a bounded world. Now you need to know that we've been able to build something. Let's use this for example. We've been able to build something in, I told you that whenever we have a scenario, we're having like a word on its own. In this case, I do believe what might come into your head is that, but we're able to tap in another scenario, right? Yes, we can do that. That is we tapping into, like, let me say, a pocket word. This term is mainly using novels, Wuxia novels, I don't know who actually reads Wuxia novels, but I read novels a lot, though I've not had the time lately, but I do love reading novels. Anyway, so when you get that, there are words on their own. It also works the same way that AI, these automations we've been building in other scenarios that we did not add an AI agent, it also works the same way. There are words on their own, and they're able to go through a particular process we've set in place. Now, one thing you need to know is that since we have it, that means the tools that you give the AI are also some sort of constraints as well. What I mean is that if you don't give an AI a particular tool, it doesn't know what to do in that case. If you tell it to do something that doesn't know how to do it, it's going to stop, obviously. So it's not going to request for a new tool. It doesn't know when to request. It doesn't know what exactly to even request. It's being built on what the constraints that you've built there, the fence that you've built there, that's the knowledge it has. It doesn't have anything outside that. So you can see that while this is a merit in a way, there's also this disadvantage there as well, which is that it's a merit because at least it's not going to go past the knowledge you've given it, and it's going to be precise on, let me say, your business information and the rest. But when you need to do some things that are a little bit over the power, it's not going to be able to do it. So that is for that. Another thing is to bring out, okay, the merits, right? Let's say the visible reasoning. Yes, you are able to see it live. You're able to see what it did, and you can also answer why it did that as well, instead of just running through it. It's going to respond to you on why it did that, the reasons it used to do that. You are able to see that in low-level agents. So for anything client facing, the transparency is worth a lot. Yes, that's true. In any case, you can see what we're able to do here, right here. We're able to get reasons, especially when we use the chart here now, for example. We're able to get reasons why it takes steps here. Give me a dummy lead and pass it through verifying the emails before you log and save them. Alright, so it's going to give me dummy leads, and we're going to see the thinking. It's going to pop up. Yeah, so we can see this in real time, where we get to see how it's working across this, the tools, and it's showing this and the output. Now it's thinking again. It's created some dummy for us. Now you can see what it did. It even, well, since why this did not send through, I'm going to even tell you without even reading this. Now what happened here is that it was able to create dummy leads for us, right? Yes, and it verified them. It said yes, they are verified, and one thing or the other. And the next thing is it logs them and it saves them. It's probably considered, it's more than one, more than two. So it's considered as auth, warm, and cold, right? That's why we're able to save all three here. And it's also considered it as qualified. That means we obviously have an auth or a warm, or we have both as well. Now after that, because it is a dummy lead, I'm pretty sure that the email is not correct, and I'm pretty sure that is why that stopped. So let's see. You can see the Sarah.Mitchell at Bright. I don't know if this is likely not correct, and that is why it is odd. Okay, so and that is why we can see that it did not go through here. It could not send through because it's likely not a verified email. It's not real, but it's wanted to show us how it will be real. One thing that we're going to see here is that this will, okay, we didn't even run an output here. Okay, let's see, we did an input, but we didn't get an output. So we should have built something for this as well, an output. We are supposed to build an output here as well. Since we have scenario input and output, we're meant to build that as well. So you need to touch on that. I probably forgot to mention that. If there's anyone that probably you've worked on this a different way, or you've noticed it as well from the previous video, this is where you need to work on this. So now the same thing here now is that while this worked, an input, we didn't get an output, right? That's what I just addressed now. The email is likely fake. So while all these things worked, we're able to see the thinking, right? Now the other way around this is that while we're even still able to see the thinking, it's just for transparency. We're just able to see that, okay, this is why this happened. And it's more or less the same like the way automations have been building, because when you think about these automations too, we're able to see why they stop and why they move along as well. What I mean is that for this, as example, when you run this automation and this checks and it moves to the next one, you're able to still see the reasoning in a way, right? Which is also an advantage. So, and when it stops, you're also able to see why it stopped. So, well, you're not seeing the reasoning, but you're seeing the after effects, like the output, the outcome, what happens, and why it either ran or it did not. So that is basically that one. And the next one is price while learning. Now you can use a free provider, you can run for free. It's also free to break, because I mean, when you think about it, What you build is personally for yourself. When you build it, these are things you can break yourself. These are things that you can even see what we are doing here. These are things that we're able to just do freely without costing us. It did not cost us much, aside our time that we're using to build it, right? So these are the things I just brought out. Now, where they break specifically, I've mentioned the first one. The other one is that they are non-deterministic. What I mean here is that same input can run twice and the paths can differ slightly. I won't say they're entirely non-deterministic because we have a path that we've run through the automations, especially this. Okay, we have these tools now that we've called, right? And we have scenarios that it can also call as well. Those scenarios are still, they are more or less the deterministic part of this. But the rest, it depends on, you can run the same lead. If you have numerous information on a lead, what I mean is that if this lead drops something like a reason, let's say, I remember when we had the form coming in, one of the things is that these leads are meant to give message. They're meant to add the message, right? Now, the AI can read the message twice and not give the same 100% response on it. It's possible for it to have seen it as, okay, this is hot, and the next time you run it, it's actually send it as warm instead. So we have this, even though it might be small, a slight chance of probability there that it's not just stuck on the same way we've been running automations all this while. And that, while it might have been a boost for us since we have an AI that thinks for us, right, it's also a disadvantage too, because unlike automations that are just, they perform the tasks that we've set to it, this one can think differently on the same lead, the same input to give it, even though it's not like, it doesn't have the same 100% thinking that it did twice. It can't have the same thing. So it's possible for it to think a little bit. Let's use degrees now. We have 0 to 90 degrees, right? So we have 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. It's possible for it to think 91 degrees. It's possible for it to think it's 9 degrees. So it might not exactly just be 90 degrees every single time. But when you're running an automation without an AI agent, it's going to run it through 90 degrees every single time. So with all this in place, another thing is that they are expensive at scale. Yes, imagine you are running an AI agent that reasons every single time. You are basically calling a module. You are basically calling a model of an AI every single time. And depending on the model that you're also running, probably you might have to get an API. If you are not using the free recommendations I've given you, like Grok or any other free API key out there, it's actually quite expensive. You saw what we ran through when we're using Fable. Now, the thing about it is that a lot of clients might even say, yeah, they want to use Fable. Do you know the cost? So when we ran Grok, we only expended 1 credit, right? Fable took 77 times that amount just in one run. But I mean, most of these are just, they're actually things that don't necessarily require something as big as this, to be honest. You could use any module, you could use something even small, though most of the time I leave this and I go for medium. Medium is quite okay, it's balanced. And I could just use this, and it uses GPT-5, that's GPT-5 Nano here, which is okay. It's quite okay. I mean, when it comes to reasoning, this is okay for anything that you want to do in a business. They don't require large extended thinking, something that needs a bigger model before it's able to think better. These are things that you do in everyday life. So these are like this lead intake, you're trying to verify. Why do you need to think harder than how you are thinking to just verify the email? No, you're just calling this tool, that's all. So for things like this, you need to know. Now, they don't have any memory. Yes, that is true. I need to tell you that these charts that we're using, we are charting with something that could have been the input. That is what we're actually doing. This is not something that we get every single time. This is one of the reasons why Why they don't have a memory, what they depend on that also helps them is more of the conversation ID. But they don't have a memory. It's unlike when you are chatting with ChatGPT, Claude on their web interface where you're able to chat. It remembers your last 10 messages or your last 20 messages based on the context window. It remembers all this and is able to use it to give you a better response. This doesn't. Because it doesn't have a memory. So they can pick wrong confidently. Yes, it's true. If you do remember when we were using these tools, we had two similar tools here that we're using. This one is meant to log everything. This one is meant to log only qualified. The two differences are that this one should only log warm and hot, while this one should log every single one of them. But if it had not been specific and clear enough on these two, in fact, it's still, though it's not actually, it's not possible because I was very clear enough on the fact that this is only for qualified and this is for everything at once. But in a case where someone that is not good with prompt engineering or doesn't understand how to lay out context and to put in something that is clear enough for AI to think on, this would be very bad. This is why some people are building AI agents for their clients or for their own systems as well, and they've not been able to build something strong. This was why I brought you through the fact that we needed to go from prompt engineering to what? Building AI agents now. And this took us over 40 days. Yes, it was required because what? All these things are things that you still use in the upper level. Now, one thing I need to tell you, just a little, is it a teaser? Do they call it teaser now? I'm going to tell you before we even go into further ones is that we're going to be using more of prompt engineering in the bigger ones. We're going to be using more of that. We're going to be using everything actually, APIs, MCPs, every single thing, even AI agents as well. But I'm just having to tell you that every single thing that we've learned in the past, they are going to show up more in the future because what we're going to actively need to build using prompts as well. So aside from this, we're going to be needing that as well. So this was one of the reasons why I had to call that. Now, when the old wired way still wins, what I mean is that when you notice what I've been saying all this while, is that the AI agent, while it is nice, it is not deterministic. It's not entirely deterministic, right? It has a little bit of probability that might cause failure to a system if not properly prompted, right? If not given clear instructions. So because of this, in most cases, rather than even running an AI agent to think of all these things for me, I already built automations, AI automations that have steps. So this is a case where most of the time I would rather run back to automations like this and I build this up rather than giving my AI to think and decide one for me. Yes. So there are cases like that. I would rather go for this than let something else think for me here. While this is still good, this can stay to one task, especially a task that that is reoccurring, something that you don't need an agent to have to think before it goes through that task. This is obviously what I'll go for. So that was what I explained here. That's what fixed logic. That is what we have in just general automations. That's a fixed logic is just when this happens, do this. This is something I remember. This was what I said when we started AI automation, the second layer, right? When this happens, I want you to do this. So this time around, you have no judgment calls. That means you don't need a brain to think that this is the form this person filled before he's able to respond, or before we're able to pass this person through our pipeline. No, there are cases where we don't need that. We have built something, we built a system, we built a form that just needs to be filled, and if the person passed the probably select conditions, it just needs to be passed through a particular pipeline, an automation that will be built in place that once it gets there, that is all it needs to do. It's as simple as that. So when you have high volume as well, in this case, honestly, thousands of identical runs, imagine, and you want an AI to keep thinking the same form that hundreds of people are filling in your business, or tens of people are filling in your business every single day. You want an AI agent to think before it does that. Like, you are just, to me, I feel like you are wasting resources, and that is not necessary. So you need to know when to use an AI agent. You need to know when to just stick with an AI automation, or an AI powered automation. In this case, there are cases where you don't need an AI to think. You have a form that is deterministic. A form is mostly deterministic. You have it, and you can what? Just pass in a couple of conditions, and if yells or a router or anything, a filter, can pass through all these things. Why do you need an AI agent to think of the same form people are filling every single day that just gives you probably 3 different conditions? Why do you need an AI to think about it each time before it does that? You might need that only when what you are getting needs to be precise and has a lot of information to consider. An example of what I mean here is that you are trying to know if, for an example now, when you are probably researching on the company of your client, you are into B2B, right? So you are researching on the company of your client after they fill the form, the example I gave you yesterday and what I told you to build. You want to research on the company. Now, based on the response you get, probably the amount of employees in that company are like between 5 to 10, or probably 20 to 50, and 100 to 500, like that. So you need to consider a lot of things. You also need to consider probably this business or this company that you're trying to reach out to. Maybe they've IPO'd, or there are many conditions that you might have there. These are things that the agents that you've built probably needs to think of a lot of conditions and match them together and use it to decide where this company or this company owner or this business owner or this founder needs to be sent to. What pipeline this person needs to be. It needs to consider a lot of things, and you've given your judgment to it. In a condition like this, yes, I would probably create an AI agent to just do that for me, no problem. But when you don't need all this judgmental thinking, like you don't need it to make judgments before it runs, before it gives you an output, you do not need to go into creating AI agents. People don't say this online, that you should not create AI agents for everything, but honestly, I'm going to say it. Some are unnecessary. So auditable parts, money movement, yes, for all these things you need something that is fixed, right? Like money movement, legal steps, anything where it actually does the right thing isn't good enough. That's the thing. You need something that is fixed already, something that you are sure on whenever this happens, because you don't want an AI to make a mistake when it comes to any payment issues. Now you don't want it to make a mistake, and there are situations where we can still build this. I want to be clear there. We can still build AI agents for this, but you really do need someone that, if you are probably going to call in anyone that understands how to prompt clearly, that is when I can say you can lift off 99% of your worries. That's the thing. But if you don't trust anyone to be able to do that, then I will tell you, just stick with automations in that case. And you yourself can build it for yourself. It's your business. If you build it for yourself, I'm pretty sure you trust the level of skills you have in your prompt engineering knowledge. So the rule for choosing basically is one question, and this one question can determine which one to choose. Probably you are going back to using automations, which is fine, or you are going to use AI agents that can also link to automations, or that can probably link to tools, or MCPs. So the question is that, is there real judgment in these stacks? Which is obviously what I just said. Does something need to read this input and decide? Is it fixed, or do I need to think about it? Is this something that someone will give me this information and I have to think about it before I say, all right, let's do this instead? If it's something like that, sure, use an AI agent. But if it's something that each time I get it in, it's just like a checkbox, yes, go to this route, yes, go to this route, or go to these 2 different routes, either go to this or that, I can use an automation instead. So that is why I put here a fixed logic is wired. A real judgment is when you need to make a decision, like the business owner or the founder or probably the CTO or anything you want to, or the CFO, you want to make a decision that, okay, you know what, based on the amounts that we do have now, we have this amount in our budget and we cannot do refunds at the moment. We have to shift it forward. These are things that might require judgment. Yes, if your AI can undo that, yes, sure. Then 2 checks before committing to the agent. How often does it run? Massive volume pushes back towards wired for cost. Yes. Now what this is that how many amount of leads do you have coming in a day? How many leads do you have coming in a day? What's it called? Aside from leads, are you using the same AI agents to run multiple things like support tickets, like reminders and many things? With something of huge volume like this, you need to understand when to remove some and just have them out as automations instead, fixed automations. One thing that I need to also point out is that the lesser the amount of tools you have on your low-level AI agent, the more precise it's able to call on the right tool and is able to do the right thing. The lesser the amount of tools you give it, the more it chooses the right thing. That is it. So the more tools that you have, the more chances I believe that your AI agent is able to might make mistake. If 2 tools have similar descriptions or there are things that might just pop into it. So so the ceiling we hit now is that we understand that low-level AI agents can do these much things that we've been talking about and the things we've built so far. However, we also know that these AI agents cannot do some specialized things. Some things that, an example is a voice agent, right? We can't have a voice agent that calls a lead right inside this. We don't have something like that here. There's no way for something here to call a lead for us and it speaks to them live, right? So for us to do something like that, obviously we need a specialized agent. That is where a middle level agent comes in. And that is what we're going to be building from tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to start talking about that's middle level agent. We're going to build a voice agent as well that's going to answer a phone, and that is something that make.com's agents cannot do. And yes, once again we're getting to the more interesting parts as we keep going, and I hope to see you in the next class. All right, so peace.